And as mentioned, the ad set setup will consume most of your effort and strategy. The first thing you will see over here is actually on the right hand side with a graph known as potential reach. You need to keep an eye on this number because it is this number that I did say that you want it to be between 10,000 to 100,000 for typical ad set sizes. Right now you can see it's wide open at 4.9 million, and as we configure the ad set, the number will shrink or expand depending on what you're doing essentially. So let's go ahead and scroll down. Now the ad set name, for me, I name it based on the audience. After all, the difference between ad set 1 and 2 is only the audience configuration. Everything else being consistent except for the audience, and the audience that I'm targeting and the age group. Again, the information is derived from my persona development one stage earlier. Let's continue down, and we are going to leave it as traffic to website for now. Assume we have a landing page, and we now scroll down here. Custom audiences, if you have any, then this is where you start to input your custom audiences, similar for lookalike audiences. And there is a whole section for you to deal with audiences. It is not here. I'm just going to leave this empty for now and go straight into the first option, which is location. Click edit, and it knows we are in Singapore, and that's the reason why it shows up over here as default. You just need to know you do not need to have this as default. For example, if you have a location-based business where proximity is a factor, think food and beverage, think retail outlets, then showing your ad to entire Singapore may not make a lot of sense and may not give you the kind of ROI anyway. So let's get rid of this, and we are back to the world map, and there are a few things you can do. You can actually, if you're a larger economy, you can type in your city name. You can even go to your street name. Let me show you, for example. So I'm typing in 27 West Coast, and if I complete this, you can see that one of the options is 27 West Coast Highway, which is a specific location that zooms in and pinpoints to that specific address. Remarkable, because this is not just the location of the street in general. This is the location of the exact address, 27 West Coast Highway, Singapore. Now, obviously, you don't necessarily need to know the address. You can also use your map identification skills and navigate to a location, zoom in, and use the drop pin method to drop pin on your building. And now you have 2 drop pins. So again, right, if you are a retail business, then drop the pin on your retail location. The next thing to do is to configure the distance. The minimum distance is 1, as you can see here. So if you're looking for what we call walk-in customers, then this will be the configuration. I'm going to drop a pin and set the radius to 1 kilometer. That's how this targeting works best. So you have 1 kilometer radius as your minimum distance settings at this point in time. I think that's good enough because you're going to attract the walk-in people. If you're looking for people around your vicinity, obviously you can extend this, because by leaving this to 1 kilometer, like so, you can see that the potential reach has dropped from the earlier 4 point something million down to 64,000. And the question, of course, is, are you satisfied with 64,000? Well, it depends. In this case, if I was targeting just walk-in customers, this ad set and this configuration would suit me. Assuming I have a retail outlet over here, this will be a good location configuration. In fact, right now, taking out the other one, we're down to 18,000. But again, it is what it is, right? Because if you have a walk-in promotion, then it only makes sense for you to configure this drop pin 1 kilometer, because 1 kilometer is walking distance. Anything more, well, I don't think Singaporeans walk 2 kilometers to claim your free ice cream or dessert. So you really have to be practical over here. If you're doing a walk-in promotion, then this becomes primarily your configuration. And again, as I said, do keep an eye on this number here, because as you keep adjusting other aspects, let's say you want to adjust age and you want to reduce this to 60 years old, or let's show some exaggeration, we go down to 50, 18 to 50, you can see that the potential reach start to squeeze down because we've excluded people above 51 years old. So age, depending on how wide or narrow your configuration, can affect and will affect potential reach for sure. So in this case, you have to ask yourself, if I'm doing walk-in, is there a need to really segment by age or leave everything wide open? Next thing is gender. You have the option between all men and women. If your product is designed for women, obviously you choose women. If not, then all would be a great option in this case. Now then you have detailed targeting, which is what is going to occupy you most in terms of time spent and cracking your brain, right? I'm going to open this right now. And therefore, how you define your audience is determined by what you key in over here. Now, you can start by keying something in to get the ball rolling, or if you don't want, you can actually click browse and work through logically down the preset categorization. Now for that, let us go back to the workbook and walk through the workbook systematically. So now that we are in the setup and configure ad set segment, let's just go ahead and follow the guidance of the workbook. And over here, the workbook tells you to select the location, select the age, gender if required, select the targeting, uncheck the detailed targeting expansion box, and I will explain that more in a moment, and define your language. Back to location, you can target by country, you can target by state, city, or even down to the street level as shown earlier. And as mentioned, you can also do the drop pin if you're targeting a specific address and you want people to come to your location, whether it's the immediate walk-in, of which you will set 1 km, or you want people in your vicinity. You can set, for example, 5 kilometers. Now, as mentioned, this is the one that is going to occupy you most and worry you most. And there are two ways to go about doing this. One is you can start by identifying a broad category, and this broad category approach, you just have to browse the predefined categories that Facebook has already set for you. For example, in this example, you are looking at interest, business industry, and aviation. So these are already preset, pre-configured. You find out and scroll through what makes sense most and select that specific segment. There's also another method which requires user input, and this is known as precise interest targeting. There is a very specific technique that you should employ. I'm going to show you how this is done, and I call it the seed keyword followed by suggestion method. So let's explore both the broad interest targeting and precise interest targeting techniques right now. So back to Business Manager in Ads Manager, and as mentioned, by clicking Browse, you're able to see 3 high-level categories: demographics, interests, and behaviors. And starting from top down, for demographics, we have education, financial, life events, parents, relationship, work, and of course, they can continue to drop down. Remember, they're all predefined, so whatever you need, you just go ahead and check the box. In this case, for example, if I want to target university graduates, then this becomes my selection, and I can go ahead and target associated options like master's degree, professional degree, doctorate degree even. Now, when I do this, you will notice a few things. Actually, the number drops and the number goes up again. Let me just show you what happens over here. So when I first added university degree, you will see that the potential reach drops to a measly 4,200. And that's because right now I've added an additional attribute that must be present in this Facebook users, and that is that they have to be university graduates. Now, watch what happens when I select, and I'm just going to go and use suggestions and select master degree. Look at potential reach. Potential reach increases to 5,002, suggesting that by selecting master's degree, I've added 800 additional qualified people who meet all the other criterion, and in addition, has told Facebook that they are a master's degree holder. The point is that when you add in this box, what you're telling Facebook is that the criteria you're looking for is everything else plus a university graduate or a master's degree. So when you have two of these side by side, this is actually the OR coming to place, OR. Now, of course, if I add doctorate, my question to you is this: do you expect the potential reach to increase or decrease? It has to increase because now we are adding on the OR doctorate degree, and the number should increase, in this case, marginally by 100 because there are not many PhDs, I guess, in the vicinity. It's at this time where you get to decide whether or not this is something you want to do, and you will see that when you have small locations like this using the drop pin, you generally don't want to be too aggressive and add too many interests because it will erode your potential reach. Now, if you're targeting whole of Singapore, it's a different story. So let me just show you whole of Singapore instead. So at whole of Singapore, you are in a different situation because over here, you're at 1.2 million people with the current configuration. Now, let's take this and massage it to get down to that 100,000, right? One approach is to audience stack. And what is audience stack? Audience stack is to hit this button called narrow audience. And you will see here that narrow audience is telling Facebook that your target user must be a university graduate or master's or PhD and some other criteria. So now you're adding a second circle, as you can see here. The first circle on the left is what we have on top. We are creating a second circle, and the people that meet both circle criteria belongs to the intersect, and the intersect equals your potential reach. What business am I doing? Well, let's say I want to target people who are swimmers or swimming enthusiasts. I'm now showing you precise targeting in action. So I'm entering a seed keyword. Assuming I know nothing about the niche, I should at least be able to type in the name of the niche, in this case swimming, see what pops up, and right now I can scroll because I'm using the suggestion feature. So the suggestion feature is very powerful because there's only so many pre-built categories under broad targeting. The suggestion feature is a godsend, and the right way to use it is to type in your seed word first, find something here that suggests affinity with your target audience. In this case, I'm going to choose freestyle swimming because we offer freestyle swimming technique as part of the total immersion method. And right now you can see that the potential reach falls to 41,000. This is a countrywide ad. At this stage, if I wanted to increase potential reach, what will I do? To increase potential reach, I should now have an additional interest beside this. So this becomes this or this. Now, how do I do that? Actually, it's very simple. I just have to click suggestions. Remember, the suggestion button is your best friend and do things one step at a time. I'm choosing freestyle swimming. In this case, I'll choose all swimming lessons. And as expected, the potential reach now starts to creep up, 57,000. Then I may want to also target, in this case, swimming pools since it's being suggested. And now it jumps to 240,000, suggesting that people who like swimming pool pages in Singapore, there are quite a lot of them. At this stage, it depends on how deep I want to be. I can just say, well, let's leave the swimming pools guy over here and target a potential reach of 240,000. Or if I insist on keeping my audience within my range, then what I'm going to do is this, right? I'm going to say, well, since swimming pools make such a huge difference in potential reach, I'm going to put it as a standalone in a different ad set and see how it performs individually because it really has such a large reach itself. And I'll choose something else more specific, like, for example, open water swimming, which can benefit from our freestyle swimming techniques. So can the Ironman folks as well. I may not want to add in the marathon guys because the marathon guys are just runners. I need people who have a motivation to improve their swimming. So in this case, freestyle swimming, Ironman triathlon, open water swimming are good targets, and I'm pretty much close to 100,000. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with this specific ad set. I've also discovered swimming pools as another potential ad set which I will explore later on. But for now, I'm good. I'm done with my targeting, like so. Now, I did mention you want to ensure that you are unchecking this box and not checking this box itself, because as you can see here, checking this box balloons the potential reach to 1.2 million, which is not what you want to do. And by checking the box, you're telling Facebook, reach people beyond your detailed targeting selections when it's likely to improve performance. It's vague. I don't have good experience with it. I'm going to switch it off. You decide what you want to do. Languages, please always enter the language of your ad and your landing page. I'm going to show you why. Look at the potential reach right now is 83,000. English, all, the number moves, but only by 1,000 for this particular niche. It can move much bigger. So I always specify a language, and you should too. If your ads are primarily in English, please don't be lazy. Be sure to indicate under languages English all. This is to prevent your ad from being accidentally shown to someone who doesn't understand English, like a Chinese national in Singapore, for example. So those will be, for sure, right, wasted impressions. And especially if you have a small budget, you want to be in control every part of the way. There's also show more options, and that's where the connections features lies. And if you were asking, how do I target people who like my page? Well, you show more options and you select this checkbox, as explained to you earlier. I'm going to leave this right now. And of course, you can save the audience for easy retrieval later on. So that was broad, precise interests, leveraging the audience targeting features. As explained, you want to uncheck detailed targeting expansion. That's in my experience at least. And remember that you can stack audiences by using the narrow audience feature, and you're now able to manipulate the potential reach as you see fit. And of course, the quality of your audience gets enhanced as well. Remember to not forget to add a language that aligns with your ad. And if you click show more options, you have the option here to target people who like your page.